Filmmakers, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are and whatever time of the day you're watching this, welcome. Welcome to the first Beginners Editing Masterclass with me, Vijay Prateek. Now there is one thing I must say before we go deeper into this masterclass and start understanding editing. Do you think it actually is sufficient to just know how to edit? Yes, of course. You have to know which buttons to press, what's the software like, what is the interface like, what do you actually do when you open up an editing software screen. Yes, all of that is important. See, if you are looking at pursuing editing as a career, of course, it goes without saying that you have to master the interface and the craft, so to speak, and sort of learn as much as you can while you're editing a project, or if you're doing a dedicated course, that still helps because you can pretty much spend a lot of focused time on learning and not just trying to see how well you're mastering the final product. But that said, there's one thing that most generally struggle with. See, the common perception is that editing is all about the skills, the interface, the software. Yes, while that is important, that's just 2% of the work done. You heard me right. Knowing an interface or knowing a system is just 2% of the work. What matters actually at the end of the day is how you choose to tell the story. I repeat, it's not editing that makes the difference. It's actually making the right edit decisions to say a good story that makes a difference. It's a creative field, and like every other aspect of filmmaking, an editor at heart is a storyteller himself. You must understand that irrespective of whether you're a camera person or an editor or an actor, ultimately at heart you're a storyteller. And every aspect of the process that you learn only and only helps tell a better story and enhance that final film that you want to put in front of the audience. So that said, this is an editing masterclass, so we'll focus on the processes, which is the systems that you can use to start editing your film. And I won't confuse you with too much jargon or technical terms or rules so that I don't want to confuse you. This is just how you can open up a system, open up an editing software on your laptop, whichever laptop that may be, a Windows laptop or Mac, whatever you have. If you have a mobile phone, you can just download the app, open it and start editing. Bam! That's what this course is going to be all about. Now we can delve into the nitty-gritties, the basics, some fundamentals that can actually make your editing strong. One of the books I would suggest that you read for sure is a book called Shot by Shot by Karts. This is a book about storytelling. It's mostly a mix of direction and editing, but it will give you a lot of interesting points to figure out about editing. And that said, I'm not saying that this course is comprehensive. Please do try to read up as much as possible, watch editor interviews, buy subscription to things like masterclass so that you can learn more and more about the craft, and you'll notice that each film you edit becomes better over time. Golden rule, the more you practice something, the better you get at it, right? So with that, we'll now go into the first thing you do once you open up the edit software. See, one thing you have to keep in mind that irrespective of the laptop that you're using, pretty much all your features in an editing system remain the same. Say for instance, in this case, I'm going to use a Mac, so I do my editing on iMovie. This is something which comes pre-installed on a Mac. If you have an iPhone, you can download the iMovie app. This is something that is proprietary to the manufacturer, and similarly, you can use it pretty much on any laptop or mobile. Say for instance, if you're using a Windows laptop, you can open up the editing app that comes pre-installed on your laptop, or you can just check for apps that work on Windows and you can just download that. If you're using a mobile phone, say an Android phone to download, you can just download any of the apps. Basically, all the functions in any app, in any editing app remain the same. The only difference will be that, say, a button or a feature would be called in a different name, an icon may be colored differently, or it might have a different symbol. That's about it. Rest, all functions remain the same. So with that, let's now look at what you do once you've got your footage in place. Say now that the film has been shot, a video has been shot, it's now come to an editing stage, and you've got the footage, which is the raw files of video clips that you need to put together. The first thing that you'll have to do is open up a timeline. So what I'll do here is I'll just click on my applications, I'll click on iMovie since I'm using a Mac, and this will power up the system. So that is the interface that you pretty much see. And then I'll click on import media. Clicking on import media, I've already got my files stored in a particular place. So I click on import media and I'll see where all my files are. So this is the Lansdowne files. My project was called Lansdowne, which I edited. So I import all of these, and the import is basically you're taking the files that exist on one hard drive of your computer onto your editing software. So this is not transferring data from one place to another. It will just make another copy in your editing software memory for you to edit. See, now iMovie has imported all the clips and I can see all of these clips here. Now what I'll do is I'll trim out the shots that I think work best. So do keep one thing in mind while importing, that it's not necessary that you actually click on import and then go and copy all those files and drag it down. You can actually just open up the file or folder wherever you've saved all your clips. You can select all of them, do a Command A or Control A, and then you can just drag it onto your timeline. So timeline, it'll have that box with sort of an empty box, and you can just drag it onto that. It'll take about a few seconds for it to actually transfer, and pretty much after that you can get started with your next steps.